let's go to the event graph here, because this is where we're going to work in. And now we're going to get an event specifically from the add-on, which is the rebuild, event on rebuild generate mesh. Again, this blueprint comes from the Geometry Scripting add-on we enabled. I know this because this is how the add-on works. This is within the add-on. And this here is also within the add-on. 90% of the things we're going to do now are specifically to this add-on, or all the nodes we're going to use. Here we have the target mesh. You can imagine this here, this target mesh, as being our object. And our object is just a container in which we can put things. So if we drag this out here, and we can scroll down here, somewhere under Geometry Scripting. Here are all the things that are specific for the geometry scripting. And now math things are still outside, as they are pretty much used for everything. But here are the main things. But instead of looking through here, I'm going to type in append box primitive. You can see we are here under the geometry scripting, and all those things are within the geometry scripting right now. So, and here we have an append box. Let's just use that. And we're going to take a look here. Like the materials, before something actually happens, you have to compile it. Like applying in materials, you have to compile it. And now we can grab this blueprint and drag it in here. Oh, we have a box in here. If we disconnect this by holding Alt left click and apply it, ooh, box is gone. Right? So the white line is just the execution line. So it does something, right? So we're saying do this here. And this here is just the object in which it should be created. So we need to sort of tell it where, right? So this append box should happen inside the actual object. If we disconnect this, it's also not going to happen, but if we connect it, it's in there. Now we have a lot of options here. For example, this primitive option, what do we do with that? It's weird, but we can just, these blue nodes, most of the time we can just drag out when they're called options. And there's mostly just one thing we can use here. Make geometry scripting primitive options. And there we have just some additional options specifically for this node. Polygroup per face, I never looked at it, to be honest. Flip orientation, UV mode, uniform, we don't need this. We just need a simple box here. We can change the transform. So if we drag this out here and say make transform, we have access to location, rotation, scale. Let's say, I don't know, let's move this a bit on X, 50. If we apply this, the box will move from its origin a little bit over. We can change the dimension, how long it is. The steps are for, let's go actually here to wireframe, and we can see the wire, right? And let's say I'm making five steps here, and I compile this. You're going to see more cuts here. Essentially, it's subdividing. Let's go back to 0 here, disconnect this. We can tell where the origin is. We could keep the origin at the bottom here. We can keep the origin at the base, center, right? But let's keep it at the base here. Go back to unlit, Ctrl-Shift-S saving. And we have created a box. Now, as far as I'm aware, the debug option does not work at the moment. I never tested it, but it does matter to us at the moment anyway. So I sort of want to transform this box inside the editor. Here we can move the whole thing around, right? We're moving the whole blueprint. And inside this blueprint is the box, but we're not actually moving the box currently with that. We're moving the whole blueprint. So I want to get a transform here and be able to transform this inside the editor. How do we do that? Now we can create ourselves a variable here. Let's create a variable and change it from a vector to a transform. Why? Because we want to transform it, right? We can say where the box is here, so we need transform here as well. And we just call this transform. Let's just call it transform. Why not keep it simple? Drag this out, get, plug it in. Now compile it. And once you created a variable and you compile it, you will have access on the bottom right here in the details panel to its options. So it's the same thing as when we made a make transform. Wrong one, sorry. Same as we made a make transform, right? Same things. Compile it. But how does this help us to now move it in the editor? Now we can, if we select the variable on the top right here, tell it to make the instance editable. Let's click on that and compile it. Now, if we take a look with our blueprint selected on the right side here in the details panel, and we scroll down, here we now suddenly have a transform. This is the variable we just made editable. And if we now also show 3D widget and compile it, we got a thing here, and we're going to move the cube. But if we are selecting our whole blueprint, can we actually select the whole blueprint? We can. You see, the origin is here, but the cube is here. So we can create ourselves handles, which we can use to do things inside the editor. Now we can also go to the right here where our transform is, right? And we can just simply put this back to 0. And it will be back where the origin of our whole blueprint is.